The following is an interview recorded in Elton Jules' castle after his first gig in January 2024. I was extremely honored to be given this opportunity. I hope you enjoy the insights I gleaned from him. What inspired you to start the Elton Jules tribute act?
I've been a piano entertainer for a long time now, perhaps 30 years. Elton John has always been a fixed component of my program, and many people over the years have remarked that I should develop an Elton John tribute act. For years and years I put this off, but recently I was in a situation where I had to find new ideas for providing entertainment in a venue. It was then that I decided maybe the way to go was to start an Elton John tribute act. Many of my friends enthusiastically supported this, and my first gig was indeed well attended, especially considering it was a Sunday. It had followed a good 2 months of developing backing tracks, learning many new songs, and searching the depths of the Amazon charity shops and Temu for suitable costume material. So here I am.
How did you first get introduced to Elton John's music, and what impact did it have on you?
When I was in my childhood, Elton John was a major influence to me, especially as I was also learning to play the piano at the time. In the 70s I bought all his albums, as well as sheet music with his songs. After that my interest had waned a little as other things came into my life. Only when I readopted the piano in my 30s did I return to his music. I have a lot to thank Elton for my musical career, as well as my songwriting style.
Can you share the story behind the name Elton Jules?
Well, my name is Jules, and not John, thankfully. So it's obviously a portmanteau of Elton's and my name. I think if my name had been John, I would need a new strategy for choosing my name to keep out of lawyers' reaches.
How do you select the songs for your performances, especially considering Elton John's vast discography?
I've divided my cover material into 3 eras, the first representing his early albums, the second representing his music in the 70s, after he had become firmly established, and the third representing his career since 1980. I love a lot of album tracks from his earlier albums, but the latter albums I'm not so familiar with, so each set I do focuses on one of these eras.
Could you describe your first ever performance as Elton Jules? How was the experience?
My first performance started with a lot of nervousness and anxiety, as it was heavily reliant on backing tracks. The songs I know well and played natively were no problem, but I was always worried the playback might crash or whatever. Hopefully, when I get a band ready, those worries will evaporate.
What are some of the challenges you've faced while performing, and how have you overcome them?
The costume changes can be quite challenging. I always have to make sure there is a private space where I can lay out the suitcases and their contents. For my first gig, I purchased a headband and a bunch of purple dyed turkey feathers. It was cheap but not very practical, and they kept falling out. Thankfully, Team U is a great and cost-effective source for a lot of this fancy material, and in the end I opted for something ready-made from them for further gigs, which hopefully will streamline the process. DIY can be great, but not always practical. With a growing wardrobe, it's always good to decide before the gig what to wear, so that the suitcase isn't too full when I do the gig.
How do you prepare for a show? Are there any rituals or practices you follow?
Just practicing the tunes and costume changes. I always have to practice the tunes, as I have learned so many recently to work on this project.
What do you think sets your tribute act apart from others?
That's difficult to say, as I haven't really seen any of the others doing this. Okay, I don't have a huge white grand piano I take to gigs, but I am basically a one-man act right now, and I do everything. I like to think I concentrate more on some of his obscure tunes, which are still much loved by the real fans. I'm also putting in a couple of my own tunes to remind the folks that I am a musician and songwriter in my own right.
Can you describe one of your most memorable performances as Elton Jules and why it stands out?
Well, I am a new act, and I can only refer to my first gig. It did surprise me how interested people were in the act, and many more people came than those who would come for a Dr. Jules gig. So in that respect, it was a complete success.
How do you engage with your audience during performances?
Always get them singing and dancing. Of course, it's better when all the material is in my head for me to do this, but that will come with time.
Have you had any particularly memorable interactions with fans of Elton John during your shows?
Well, one fan said she loves Elton Jules. Not sure what she really meant. Was she talking about me or the character? Also, some super Elton fans come down, and it's always a joy to entertain them.
What feedback have you received from audiences about your tribute act?
Almost all positive. Of course, some in the know could tell it was my first act, and that I was a little unsure. One girl was particularly annoyed because I got her dancing, and she can't stand Elton John.
What is your favorite Elton John song to perform and why?
Holiday Inn is such an underrated song. It has a great deal of energy, and I love bringing that across. The energy comes over from the first line and sets such a great tone. It's also fun to do the missing verse for the real fans.
How has performing as Elton Jules influenced your personal and musical life?
I started writing in the style of Elton John songs. I even messed around a little with AI-generated lyrics to try and get in the mode of writing the way Elton does. I normally write text and music. I even have a name for the AI assistant, Bernie Taunton.
What does Elton John's music mean to you, and how do you convey that meaning in your performances?
He was a major figure in my musical upbringing as a child. I love both the complex and simpler songs, and he was a major influence on my early writing, allowing me to explore chord progressions and motifs more.
Are there any new elements or directions you plan to explore with your Elton Jules tribute act in the future?
I need to expand my setup to having a bass player and a drummer. Backing tracks are okay for now, but I don't plan for that to be a permanent feature. With a band you can be more flexible with the arrangements, signaling the other band members. That is much more complicated with backing tracks, where you have to stay in with a click and the changes, which can sometimes catch you off guard. Of course, the costumes will be an ever-changing thing, but backing tracks are a good compromise when I'm trying to establish my act. At this time I can't expect to charge too much for my show, but that will change.
How do you stay updated and keep your performances fresh with the ever-evolving legacy of Elton John?
Well, of course, Elton has retired now, though I expect he will still consider contributing recordings, so I will have to keep informed about that.
What advice would you give to someone looking to start their own tribute act?
Just do it. Don't dilly-dally like me. It's so much easier to market yourself as a tribute act, since you can target Elton fans with your advertising. Marketing myself as Dr. Jules was never going to be easy, since nobody knows me. Elton Jules certainly rides on Sir Elton's coattails, but that gives Dr. Jules a chance to rise on Elton Jules' coattails.
Can you talk about the technical setup for your shows? How do you recreate the sound and atmosphere of an Elton John concert?
As I said, with costumes and lights, although right now my setup is pretty basic.
How do you use social media and other platforms to promote your Elton Jules tribute act?
I use Facebook and Instagram a lot, and I market my events on Eventbrite. I regularly release cover versions on YouTube as well as those other two outlets. Elton obviously allows that, and I don't have to worry about copyright strikes, which is an important consideration for a tribute act. I also release song videos of my own Elton Jules songs. I use a lot of AI to generate images, and then I spend my time wondering how I can reproduce those staggering outfits for the stage.
What are your plans for the Elton Jules project in terms of recordings, live shows, and any other ventures?
I'm just taking it as it comes. This summer I will be off to Germany for a while, so hopefully I can show my old friends the acts when I am over there.
Mr. Jules, thank you very much for taking the time to conduct this interview.
You're welcome, and it's Dr. Jules.